Prominent US conservative youth activist and influencer Charlie Kirk has been shot dead while speaking at a university in the state of Utah. Now, these images show students fleeing the scene shortly after the incident on Wednesday. Utah Valley University says Kirk was hit in the neck by a single shot. He was a major ally of US President Donald Trump. A suspect is still at large with a major manhunt underway. The FBI says one person who was detained has now been released after interrogation. And the President Donald Trump spoke earlier from the Oval Office. He blamed what he called the radical left for Kirk's death.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now.
And we have more now from Jason Campidonia in Jason Campidonia is news director for NBC News Radio and iHeartMedia in Los Angeles. Jason, hi there. Just tell us, what are authorities saying on the investigation so far and the hunt for the perpetrator?
I can tell you that it is a statewide manhunt. They are going with everything they got to try and find this person who pulled the trigger and shot the media personality Charlie Kirk. They haven't said very much about the actual investigation. We do know that they had a person in custody. They said that they had a, quote, subject in custody, and there was some sort of interrogation, probably several hours, and then they released that person. We don't know anything about that person. The law enforcement insiders that we have spoken to at iHeart and NBC tell us that usually when that happens, that somebody gave up some information or may have just enough information for the authorities to try and track down that person. There are several reports that say that there was a man in dark clothing seen running away from the scene shortly after the shot was taken. We do know that the shot was taken about 200 yards away from where Charlie Kirk was speaking. That's a skilled shot. For somebody to hit, a neck from 200 yards out, that takes some skill. So that person probably has some training, possibly military training, and usually they run in tight circles. So somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows that person, and that's the tree that the law enforcement officials are now trying to go down and just try to find out, if this piece of information leads them to any more, then they're going to bird dog it down.
It does seem like it was a skilled shot, as you say, from around 200 yards away. So what can you tell us about security at events like these? How safe are they actually for high-profile figures who don't have official high-level security?
So if you ever have watched Charlie Kirk on social media, this is what he does. It's a folding table in like a tent or a canopy of some kind, and he just talks to the people. He had about 6 security guards with him. There was a huge turnout, 1,000 people or so turned out to this event. And when Charlie shows up on campus, it spreads like wildfire, and the college kids show up. Because it's a spectacle and it's a festival, and, maybe you learn something, maybe you don't. Maybe Charlie Kirk finally gets, yelled at the right way or whatever. And that's what he did. That's how he made his money. That's how he made a name for himself, as he went and he said controversial things on controversial campuses. So local police was involved. We know that. Now the FBI is involved, but prior to, there was medical, obviously there was campus police. So, I mean, there was official law enforcement around, but if you look at the video from, shortly before he was shot, there's a few gentlemen standing around the table, but that's just kind of to keep the crowd away from the table.
Right.
And that's really it. There really wasn't, it didn't look like there was much as in way of like any sort of military personnel or anything like that. It didn't look like there was heavy security. It just looked like his security guards and some local police.
Yeah, okay. Jason, let's talk a bit more about Kirk himself. Just explain to us, what did he mean for conservatives and the right wing in the United States?
He meant the young voter. He meant the young conservative voter. And even a huge Democrat like Governor Gavin Newsom of California had him on his podcast and said, you know, I'm bringing you on, Kirk, because you're making a dent in voters. You're turning people to the conservative side. And that's what he did. When he went to these college campuses, it wasn't, I'm going to spew the conservative handbook. I'm not going to shout you down because you don't believe in God the way that I believe in God type of a thing. He was more of the, hey, I'm going to listen to you. Now, admittedly, he probably would say something like, and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong, but he would at least listen to the other side. So that's what he did. He created a space in where conversation can happen, and then he just pointed out his own beliefs. He didn't say that you were terrible for believing whatever you're believing. He just would point out his beliefs and why he disagreed with you. And a lot of people had issues with that. But for the conservative base, for the MAGA voters, the Trump voters, what he represented most was just that young up and coming voter, because you can't go on TikTok or Instagram these days prior to him being shot without seeing at least one Charlie Kirk video.
Mm. That was journalist Jason Campidonia in Los Angeles. Thanks so much, Jason.
Thank you.